In other news, Russia has declared an emergency following a spill of 20,000 tons of oil into the Arctic Circle. Russia has got to be one of the most disgusting countries in the world when it comes to doing ecological damage. It was in Russia that the greatest nuclear disaster of of all history took place at Chernobyl. It was in Russia that we have vast lakes like, look it up, Lake Karachay, which is a concrete lake. It is solid concrete. You can look at it on Google Earth and you will see a gray mass where there used to be water. And that gray mass is solid concrete and it's radioactive. And all they did was pour in cement powder until it solidified, because it is so polluted that if an animal drank the water from that lake, it would take 10 steps from the lake and die. And now Russia's done us all the service of pouring a considerable amount, in their words, of oil into the Ambarnaya River in Siberia, which just pours out into the Arctic. This is great. Well done, Russia. You're such a great, fundamentally, you're an idol. You're the kind of country that we should all look up to, a role model.
I don't think that you can actually believe how far wide this stretches.
It's huge.
And it's something that I wanted to speak about. Perhaps we'll talk about it when we've got more time after 7.
Oh, you can talk about it now if you want to, because this is just unbelievable. You'd see it from outer space.
So what it's doing, because it was 21,000 tons of diesel fuel that spilled from this reservoir, it's melting something called permafrost.
Right.
Permafrost is soil that is frozen, found mostly in the northern hemisphere, and it covers about a quarter of exposed land, and it's thousands of years old. Now, what are we worried about? Well, it's locked into this permafrost is approximately 1.7 trillion tons of carbon in the form of frozen organic matter. Problem is that when this permafrost melts, it's like a time bomb. It brings to the surface diseases that have been buried for thousands of years.
Oh, yes.
So they're like these viruses that come up that people haven't heard of for thousands of years.
You know, Russian President Vladimir Putin declared a state of emergency in the city of Norilsk after the spill. An estimated 20,000 tons, as Leigh-Ann said, of fuel from a power plant where they make nickel, among other things, which is also toxic in large quantities. A considerable amount of this has spread into there. The president appeared shocked to learn that the local authorities were first flagged to the incident by social media. Not surprising. Local authorities in Moscow were only told about Chernobyl because Norwegians had seen isotopes in their data collection, which they hadn't seen before. So the information system not work so good in Russia. Not quite good. Because people lie for a living. This is what communism teach you, to lie.
So this gives you an example. In 2016, when there was a breakdown of permafrost in a certain area, a child in Russia's, in Siberia, actually died of an outbreak of anthrax that scientists said seemed to have come from the corpses of infected reindeers buried 70 years before, but uncovered by melting permafrost. There are a major amount of dormant pathogens entombed in this frozen soil that could be roused by global warming. There are even, if you think about it, old smallpox graves.
Yeah.
And remember that freezing doesn't kill the virus. It just keeps it inactive.
You think COVID is scary? Some of these diseases you don't need to make in a lab. Nature's been working on them for millennia. Get ready. It's going to be a load of fun. Plus, of course, you kill millions and millions of fish. You kill millions of other kinds of aquatic life. And in the Arctic, which is up to now mostly been resistant to this sort of pollution because there are only a few designated routes for ships to take through the ice. And if you do go up there, you need some pretty sophisticated machinery, ice-breaking ships to get you through. Now, of course, it's going to sit under that ice or on top of it. It's going to have consequences in terms of how it melts the ice or it makes it less susceptible to staying solid. There's lots of ugly situation. Russia, thank you very much. When people go on about like America didn't sign the Paris Accord and Russia's dumping tons of oil into the Arctic.
From Russia with love.
Let's see Greta Thunberg get on the stage today and bitch about this, because people might actually take her seriously. But of course, it's not as sexy as if she makes up this boogeyman called global warming. So let's see what happens, everybody. Look to all those people who always used to tell you about the climate and global warming. And let's see if any of them mention this story, because it's such an obvious one. There's someone to blame. We know what to do about it. But of course, nothing will be done, because it doesn't involve getting everyone in the world uptight about capitalism or about progress.